expert. You shouldn't avoid the narcissist in the workplace. You should tackle him. Here's how you do it. They manipulate and can be devastating for companies and their employees. Therefore, experts recommend that we avoid recruiting narcissists. But does this mean that there is no place for them in Danish workplaces? Not quite, says an expert in the narcissistic personality disorder. Resign if your manager can't see that you have a narcissist on the team. Check the person's references to avoid recruiting a narcissist. When experts talk about people with narcissistic personality disorder, they are most often referred to as people we should avoid including in the workplace. And it is about getting out of the narcissist's grip quickly, whether that means resigning or getting the person fired. At the same time, research by John M. Twenge and W. Keith Campbell shows that approximately 1 in 10 suffer from narcissistic personality disorder. Their research thus concludes roughly that approximately 594,000 Danes walk around with narcissistic tendencies. If we put it in a recruitment perspective, it means that there is a large proportion of Danes that we would prefer to get rid of and that the experts also recommend avoiding recruiting. But is it really impossible to give them tasks in which they grow and contribute positively? Should we just accept the premise that they destroy every job they come near? Not quite, believes narcissism expert Berit Seigenfeld. The narcissist's advantages. During his working life, Berit Seigenfeld has spoken to many Danes who have had a narcissist close in their lives. In addition to being a trained nurse, author, lecturer, she is one of Denmark's leading experts in narcissistic personality disorder, the after effects it has on the people who are exposed to a narcissist. Narcissists are very jealous of others, and they have this grandiose self-image. They must be the biggest, the most skilled, the most popular. They must be above the employees. So if the employee has some skills that are particularly attractive, the narcissist is initially excited about the skills. But the excitement is quickly replaced by envy because they have something the narcissist doesn't. If you have something they don't have, then they feel compelled to destroy you and somehow destroy you. Berit Seigenfeld previously told Viger, if efficiency is to be improved, for example through a reduction in the staff, it is a relatively easy task if you do not have empathy. Berit Seigenfeld, on the advantages of the narcissist. They do this, among other things, with the manipulation technique gaslighting. A technique that ultimately goes beyond the employee's self-image and self-confidence. I have many clients who say they started doing Google searches on communication problems because they thought the problem was that they couldn't figure out how to deliver their messages properly. In the end, they end up with me because it is actually because they are being gaslighted, she says. It is therefore not without reason that many would like to see themselves apart from the employees, who manipulate their way to the top and destroy the rest of the organization on their journey. But is the problem with the narcissist's grandiose self-image big enough that we simply cannot find room for them in the Danish workplace? As I said, not quite. They also possess an enormous lack of empathy, which can be beneficial in a few situations, says Berit Seigenfeld. If efficiency is to be improved, for example through a reduction in the staff, it is a relatively easy task if you do not have empathy. So the narcissist could easily fire a number of employees, and then go out to play golf, without being affected. Precisely because it does not touch them. 3 types of narcissists. Berit Seigenfeld knows that working alongside or under a narcissist is far from without problems. They are a huge challenge to have in a workplace. Therefore, many will say that no, they do not fit into the workplace. But nevertheless, they are here, so you have to deal with them, she concludes. In addition, Berit Seigenfeld explains that the term narcissist is far from being as unvarnished as we sometimes reduce it to be. She herself works with 3 different types of narcissists. The classic, who is the least dangerous narcissist, and who displays great self-satisfaction, often embellishes the stories. The malignant narcissist, who has a need to be seen and acknowledged and tends to be sadistic and psychologically abusive. And finally the psychopathic narcissist, who demands respect and admiration from other people and has no one above him and no one beside him. The psychopathic narcissist works alone, purposefully towards his victim. They are a huge challenge to have in a workplace. Therefore, many will say that no, they do not fit into the workplace. But nevertheless, they are here, so you have to deal with them. Berith Sigumfeld, on narcissists in the workplace. It is estimated that the majority of the 10% who are narcissists are the so-called classic narcissists. Berith Sigumfeld, about narcissists in the workplace. It is estimated that the majority of the 10% who are narcissists are the so-called classic narcissists. So fortunately, we can say that when we now have to deal with them, many of them are actually tolerable to work with, says Sigumfeld and elaborates. So they won't be the vicious sadists who ruin your whole life. But they will be challenging to work with because they are so hardwired in this way. So you will find it problematic, no matter what. The majority of the approximately 594,000 Danes who are estimated to be narcissists can therefore be worked with. However, it requires that you pay attention to their techniques. In the company of the classic narcissist. The classic narcissist is good at reading other people and actively goes in and finds out what your weak points are. For them, it's about power control, and one of the ways to achieve that is by holding you down and belittling you through your weak points, says Berith Sigumfeld. Therefore, it also requires a great deal of self-awareness to be able to work with the person in question. If you choose to react, it is just like throwing more petrol on the fire. They just get more nourishment from it. Berith Sigumfeld. You have to become aware of which points they press. And then you have to stop taking it personally, says the expert, adding. It is very difficult, I know that, because it can seem very personal. But narcissists are really just trying to survive. And they have no other way to survive than to always be the strongest, the biggest and the most skilled even. It costs you your self-esteem on the way there. If you choose to react, it's just like throwing more petrol on the fire. They just get more nourishment from it, she explains. Can't one's manager just get help for the narcissists themselves so that they become better colleagues? No, replies Berith Sigumfeld. You must never, ever tell a narcissist that they are a narcissist. They are well aware that they work differently than the rest of us. But in their world, the way they operate is the right one. So they are not interested in being helped, and there is no motivation for it either, because they cannot see the problem themselves, she explains. What if a boss says that you will probably have to start seeing a psychologist and get some things under control before you can be here with us? Maybe they will accept that. Sometimes they will do something where it looks like they are actively working to change and work on the problems they have. But often they just want to learn other and new techniques to manipulate, which the boss then finds more difficult to detect. However, this does not mean that a dismissal will therefore be the solution, says Berith Sigumfeld. Especially with a classic narcissist, you have to assess on a case-by-case basis. It is also not realistic to fire every time an employee exaggerates or lies. However, the assessment requires that you familiarize yourself with which type you are dealing with and what they have done in the company, she says and adds. If you choose to keep the person in question, it is about getting the tools to deal with a narcissist. Want to read more about the narcissist's most used manipulation technique? In the article below, Berith Seigenfeld reviews the manipulation technique gaslighting, and what you can do if you recognize yourself or colleagues in the article.